Going away. I am married, together 9 years total, with 2 girls together and 1 child from a previous relationship. I am 33 years old. A little background info. Most of our marriage has been very unhappy, unhealthy, and filled with painful conflict, almost from the beginning. I always knew in my gut things never felt right, and I always felt in a state of such deep pain but could never put my finger on the reason. We used to fight all day long, and I was always treated like I did not matter. That my concerns about our marriage were ridiculous and that I was overreacting and too sensitive. It was brought to my attention that I was in a very emotionally and verbally abusive relationship, and once I realized this and read about it, I know why I felt so awful all the time around my husband. I brought this to his attention, asked him to read up on it and see if he recognized anything in himself, which in turn eventually led to him changing some of his ways, and some of it got better over time. Still though, I have not felt happy with him for a very long time, but I always have had the motivation to keep trying new things to try and make things better. Even when he didn't want to make the efforts, I have had a few periods of time where I have seriously considered ending our marriage because I do not think I love him anymore. And this time, 3 weeks ago, I was serious, partly because I am emotionally involved with a coworker, and have slowly been doing so for 7 months. I did not know if it was an affair that was beginning until recently and am now in too deep to just forget about it. I feel very little for my husband and have not for a very long while. I do not feel attracted to him anymore. I have not been able to say I love you and mean it in a very long time because I don't feel that way. I am here for the kids, the home we have built, financial stability, our marriage vows, and the future of our family. But I am not sure if I can stay in something for those reasons. If there is a lack of feeling on my part, I have turned my feelings off toward him, and have a wall built up to protect myself from his abusive ways that I cannot see over it. Now since I have revealed this other relationship, he is going to counseling and literally, overnight has turned into a whole new man. I mean, it is almost too much to take how sweet, doting, and supportive he is being. Now I have this going on all the while I have very strong feelings for someone else. And this OM told me last night at work he wants to leave his wife and be with me if my marriage fails. I know sounds so crazy, but my heart is pulling me in that direction for some reason, and away from my marriage, but I have not acted on anything physical or seen him outside of work as of yet. I realize emotional affairs are just as serious as a physical affair. Even more so as my emotions are all wrapped up in this. I am such a mess and am going through a serious depressive episode because of all this. We are going to counseling together and separate to see if we have any hope at saving this. But if I feel nothing for him, how can I move forward? All I can think of is the other man, and I want to see him and be around him because I enjoy his presence. I know it is wrong, but this is how I feel, and I hope I can get some sound, wise advice because I am really struggling. Please, no bashing. I already know I am breaking my marriage vows by having feelings for someone else. Now I just need to know what to do about these feelings and my current relationship situation. Comment: there is nothing to do about your feelings for the other man. There is no magic potion to make them go away. You simply must stay away from him and be strong enough to do that. You must push thoughts of him out of your mind and quickly think about something else. Have yourself one good cry and then resolve to let him go. One reason you must let him go is you have no business interfering with another marriage. If you want to break up your marriage, that is up to you. Frankly, I think you have good reason to do that if you so decide. But you must muster big girl, grown-up strength to do something and make some wise decisions for once. You did not leave your husband when he was abusing you. That would have been a wise decision, but you did not do that. You stayed for the kids, the home we have built, financial stability, our marriage vows, and the future of our family, but suddenly all those things mean nothing. You are willing to throw them under the bus for another man you do not even know outside of work. The truth is you could not muster the strength to leave and you were afraid to leave. So don't find the strength in someone else now and throw caution to the wind. You are running on emotions, and I cannot blame you because it's understandable. Your husband mistreated you and you turned away from him. You, like every woman, need to love and be loved. But it seems you have chosen the first man that showed you a kind attention. He has a wife. He probably has children. You have no right whatsoever to break up their home, to come between that man and his wife, to come between those children and their father. That is completely selfish. How would you feel if someone did that to you? What if you found out your husband abused you because he wanted to be with another woman? Not fair, is it? Go find a man of your own, someone you do not have to cause unhappiness to be with. Do not let others pay the cost for your happiness. OP responds: I am aware and realize I am in a very destructive situation and frame of mind right now. I do have to let go of the other relationship and move forward with my marriage. I have told him many times what we are doing is wrong, and that he needs to work on his marriage as I am trying to do and forget about me. The only problem is I can't avoid this other man completely as I work with him. I have a very good paying job and will not find another like it where I live, so do not want to quit. And he is always hitting on me, pursuing me, saying he likes me, wants me to meet him outside of work to talk, and flirts very heavily with me, etc. When I feel like I get my resolve to end it, it feels like he sucks me back in with his charm and I am all wrapped up in it again. He has an awful situation at home and wants to end it, and shares this with me and says nobody listens the way I do and that's why he likes me. He says he cannot wait till the next time he can see me at work and wants to be with me. Yeah, I know it crazy and must stop, but I don't know what to do. I have taken a leave from work for the month to work on my home situation and on myself, as I am very depressed right now. I hope I will find the strength to work around him and shut off my feelings when I return. I just do not see myself quitting a job I love and that pays me very well. I have no formal education other than certifications as a fitness instructor, and it is in the field of my career goals as a health fitness leader. I am so lost and confused, and I miss Tom very much, and am not sure why. It has caused me great emotional turmoil, and I want to get past it, but do not feel I am strong enough yet to repel his advances. Having this time away from him has been good, and I am feeling the feelings lessen, but am worried as soon as I am around him again it will start up. I must find a way to move past this. Whether I stay in my marriage or not, I know this is a very unhealthy thing for me to be in because it is not real, it is a fantasy and distraction from my unhappiness. My HB came very close to having a little chat with him. He knows all about this if I have not already mentioned. He knows who he is. I have asked him not to, as it might make things more messy than they already are. Our therapist is also advising me that I need to deal with it on my own though, to learn to stand up for myself and what is right. Of course, if his advances do not stop despite my actions, I will have to look at other options. I am happy to report that taking this month off of work and distancing myself from the other man, I am rekindling some positive feelings toward my HB and realizing what a screwed up place I was in getting involved in this affair, and how bad my marriage situation really was now that my HB has been treating me so differently and has been unbelievably supportive, loving and thoughtful. This was the attention I was craving and found it from someone else who was giving it to me freely at work. I also realized why I was vulnerable to this other man and the attention he was giving me. And I need to focus on repairing myself and the damage this has done to my spirit and soul. I need to learn to love myself above all. I have a staff meeting tonight and know I will see him at work, and I am very anxious about it for some reason. I used to look forward with such anticipation when I would be seeing him. Now I am kind of dreading it. Hopefully, this space has helped him in his intense attraction to me, and he has cooled off. But he did say he would be counting the days till he sees me again. Oh boy, what I have gotten myself into. Beware of emotional entanglements. They are dangerous. Update: I have been given the ultimatum by my HB. If I cannot give him 100% effort to making this work, I will lose him. But every time he touches me, or is near me, I picture the other man and it is driving me insane. I feel like I am betraying the other man and I know that is very delusional. I have taken a month leave from work to have some space to try and deal with my home situation without the distraction of the other man, by request of my HB. But it is really hard not seeing him, and I miss him. When I return to work in July, I will have to find a way to keep things business-like between us, which is going to be hard, because he is always putting the moves on me, and it pulls me back into the whirlwind again. And again, when I try to put an end to it, I am peeling away the layers of my unhappiness, and am working on myself. And he is doing the same. We are making huge progress as far as our closeness and reconnecting. There is a mutual respect and appreciation for one another that was not there before, however. I have not been attracted to my HB in a very long time, if I ever really have. When we first met, I felt the same way, but he was such a wonderful guy. He swept me off my feet with his charm. And I overlooked this. I mean, I kind of always disliked his looks, but there is a part of him that is handsome. And when he is being nice to me and treating me respectfully, I can overlook this. My question is, how many married people not are attracted to their spouses? And can you move forward as life partners if this is aspect missing? I want to add that I am a very fit, attractive woman, and get a lot of attention from men, including my HB. Because of that, he is fit, works out, but is not built or anything. Sometimes I think he is a bit funny looking. I know this sounds awful and very shallow, but I am trying to work on building a healthy physical life, which we have never had in our 9 years together, and I feel it is futile if I am not physically attracted to him. He is making major changes, and things are going very well in most other areas of our marriage. He has expressed, though, that he wants me to initiate more touch, closeness, and of course bonding. But if I do not feel it, how do I fake that? I am trying very hard to put all the bad stuff behind me and work on the here and now that we have a chance to make things right. Looks are not everything, but they are important. This is just something that is hard to admit to myself and my husband. I have told him I am not attracted to him and it hurt him, but I also hope it is something I can overcome for the sake of our marriage and children. A month later, I have been through so much this past month and have learned so much about myself, life, and marriage as a result. I hope I can help others find their way out of rock bottom as I have. I was the partner that wanted out and was 99% out and having an emotional affair at the same time. How have we got through the muddle? Can you give me an idea as to what this other man was really thinking, hitting on me and trying to meet me outside of work? He is married with one child. He always made sure to say that sleeping with me was not his intention. He just likes spending time with me because I listen and am nice to talk to. Funny. He always minimized it when I would say we are going too far by saying we are just buddies and have not done anything wrong. I am unsure what exactly to say to him. Maybe he was not trying to get together with me, or was in denial about the whole thing. Who knows? To everyone, I am going back to work this Monday. I work with him 2 late nights per week and am feeling nervous and anxious about seeing him. Any suggestions on how I should act, what I should say? I need to practice exactly what I am going to say. I decided against the no contact letter and plan to just tell him when I see him. If it becomes necessary to write a more formal letter and threaten to go to my boss, I will resort to that. My thoughts of what I will say are, I am working things out with my HB, and we need to make sure that our conduct at work is strictly professional from now on. No more talking about our personal issues or bonding. Anything else to suggest? I must keep it short and to the point so I don't get emotional or too anxious. Another thing I have to make sure of is that we don't end up in the break room together. This is where we had many chats when we were the only ones in there. When it was slow and we were done our work, we would sit and have intense conversations at my desk or around the building. He really liked these chats and always insisted I sit with him because he liked talking to me and looked forward to us all week. This was one aspect that I started to look forward to as well and what got me in over my head. So I must be firm and say no now. How am I going to have no contact when we work quite closely together 12 hours a week? That is the question. My HB is not happy about my working with him obviously, but he also sees we need my income to pay the bills. To clarify my reluctance for quitting my job, I get paid very well working for the city where I live. So it is more than just wage job, and hard to come by. But all of this means nothing I guess if my marriage falls apart because I cannot get over the other man. Then again, if our marriage falls apart, I am going to desperately need this income to support my kids. I am screwed either way, I guess. As for not returning on Monday to work, my supervisor is away and he is the only one I would feel comfortable talking to about this whole thing, and if I decide to resign, he is going to have to get all my shifts covered. I do not want to just leave them all stuck without someone to work my shifts. I can see that it is not the best plan to continue working with the other man, although a part of me thinks I can do it. I am going to have to stick it out for a bit until I can find another job and give notice at work. If I am strong in my mind and know I want to work it out with my HB, I should be able to stay away emotionally. But will that be best for my mental health? Probably not. So, I returned to work last night and saw the other man for the first time in 6 weeks. I considered having my HB email him to stay away from me. He was more than willing to do that, but decided I will handle this myself. As I am the one who got myself into this situation, we agreed I would call him throughout the night and check in, because he said he was going to worry about me all night while I am at work. So I called 4 times to say hi. I am okay. On the drive to work, I felt my anxiety increasing. By the time I was walking into the building, I was dizzy, nauseated, and my heart was racing like I just ran a marathon. I just kept taking deep breaths and telling myself I can do this. I did not really have a plan what I was going to say to him. I thought I would just wing it but make it clear what we have been doing is very wrong and it has to stop. So, we did have a sit-down conversation at one point. I know not smart, but he asked me to sit and chat with him and he promised no inappropriate talk, so I agreed. Our talk was clean and just about catching up on each other. He asked me lots of questions about what I did when I was away, how things are going, etc. He said he understood that we got a little carried away and will respect that I am working on my marriage and will not cross any lines. He said he still wants to be friends at work, and I agreed as long as he respected my boundaries. I told him my HB is aware of everything that has happened between us, and we are trying to rebuild our marriage, and I told him that I cannot risk losing my family and need to focus on my marriage, and that what we were engaging in is over and has to stop. He understood and said he thought of texting me just to see how I was as he was concerned, but he didn't. I told him that is a good thing and thanked him for respecting my wishes. Is talking this way crossing any lines? It felt okay, just friendly, no innuendos or physical talk at all. I must admit though there is something still there. I know he is a good person just as I am. Is there a reason why we cannot be friendly at work and not cross any lines? Seeing him was like seeing an old friend again, and it did feel good but in a different way. I feel I am able to detach myself from the intensity of what it was because I know better. I am not in the fog like I was, and have learned much about affairs in the time I took off as well as myself and my marriage. I am not about to get into it again like I was, but I am finding I am obsessing about him again today, going over our conversation in my head and the things he said. I feel I have enough of a handle on this to not let it go too far again. Am I kidding myself? Something has changed in me though, even though some of the feeling is there for the other man. It does not have the allure to it anymore because I know I could not be with a married man even if my HB and I don't work out. And even if the other man did in fact leave his wife down the road, I know he is not someone who I would get into a full-blown relationship with. He is 15 years older than I am for one thing and is not completely my type anyways. What attracted me to him was that he wanted me by laying the compliments on thick. Made it clear he found me attractive and was very persistent in trying to persuade me. And eventually I found myself entangled in it before I knew what hit me. Now I know the reasons why I was vulnerable to his attention at the time, and am sure I will not go there again. I know this is bad for all concerned, and I will make sure that our talks do not continue. In the next 2 weeks the contracts are up for renewal at my workplace, so I am going to request to work opposite of him, if possible. Come September, I must admit, the thought of not ever talking to him again makes me sad, like something is missing, but as I said, I am clear that I won't get in too deep again. In fact, I encouraged him to put the energy he has put out in trying to get me into repairing his marriage. I really would like to see him do that, because I have grown to care about him, as he has of me. I could tell that in the conversation we had last night. Update: my HB had a breakdown yesterday when we started talking about the emotional affair. It hit him that he may never be able to trust me again, that he is questioning that I am the woman he thought I was. He is in disbelief that I have feelings for another man. This all came about because he asked how it was working with him the other night, and I admitted there was still a connection there, although not as intense, but I am working to get over it. We ended up having a drawn-out 4.5-hour heated fight, discussion into the night. He cried. He told me he is done trying because I cannot give anything back, and that he wants a divorce because he can't carry on like this anymore. We talked about it, thought about it. I even felt a bit of relief and started really considering leaving. I brought it to his attention that I am trying, and listed the ways I am giving to him what I can right now under the circumstances. And he admitted he may be being selfish. It has only been 2 months of him really trying to repair the damage done to our marriage on his part. I told him it is unrealistic to expect 8 years of damage to heal in 2 months. I agreed I would stay put and really try to move forward if we set a timeline, go to our marriage counselor monthly, and give it a 6-month period, and decided we will try everything to save this, but if in 6 months we feel little or no progress has been made, we can move on knowing we tried for 6 months beyond feeling it was over instead of giving up. So that is the conclusion we have come to. I also shared with him the conversation I had with the other man at work, and he made me see that even though we were just talking, I am continuing the relationship by befriending him, and I need to be more disconnected from him. He was not mad about it, just said, I am sorry for you that you weren't able to put up the boundary and stick to it, and you need to learn to do that for yourself. And he was very right. I need to stop being nice and listening to the other man tell me of his marriage troubles, acting as a counselor trying to help him. That is how we got into this mess. So, it is fair to say I am still in it and am determined to get out of it because I know better. I just wanted to say that I have decided to stick it out at work, despite strong advice against that, because I do not want to give up my job. I am not even sure I want to stay in my marriage because it feels done on my end. I am at a loss. This is not to be near the other man. I feel differently about that now. I do not want that in my life anymore. We are giving it 6 months and will decide from there. I am so heartbroken over all of this, and do not want to think of breaking up my kid's family, but I also can't stay in a marriage that no longer feels right. It is not fair to my HB either. He is giving 100% to trying to make this work, and my heart just is not in it. I feel way too much has happened. My marriage fell over before the other man came into the picture. I have fought long and hard to fix our marriage, and that little spark that was always there to keep plugging through just is not there as much as I wish it were, because I feel this way, and if we decide to separate, I will need this job to support my kids and myself. I have no interest in running away with the other man or having a relationship outside of work with him. I just have to keep working on myself and try to build positive experiences with my HB. The past 8 years, an emotionally checked out HB has taken its toll. My spirit is broken, and I have not felt good around my HB in years because of all the bad ways he was treating me. Is there not a chance that it is just over? Too much pain. We probably were not right for each other from the beginning, but fell in love. I think. I see now we started our union on very shaky ground. This is probably the root of all our problems. If I had have known then what I know now about what I need and want in a marriage, I would have ran the other direction. I know that sounds bad, but it is true. Of course, I have learned some very valuable lessons in our life together. And we have 2 beautiful girls, which I am grateful for. But I now know what I need to be happy with someone. And I haven't had it until now, because he was shocked into changing when he found out about the I will not be running into the other man's arms, nor do I desire that. If anything, if we don't work out in the end, I will live by myself for a very long time and work on me for a change. I do agree with that you do not just throw it away because it no longer feels good. You have to try many things before giving up, and then after that, you try some more. And then a bit longer. And so on. But what if over the years the 2 of you grow in different directions? What if your time with this person has come to an end, and she is no longer the right one for you? I have grown into a woman who knows more of what I need in a marriage, and my needs have been ignored in our marriage. I have always been very committed to my personal growth. And my HB used to always belittle and make fun of me. He would say I sound like a self-help book when I talk, and it hurt deeply because this is such a huge part of me. And he never appreciated this in me until now. In many ways I feel betrayed because in the vows it states love, honor, cherish, and I did not feel any of those promises were kept. You can't honor your wife when you are constantly trying to squash her into the ground so she feels she no longer has a say in her life, or treat her as if she doesn't really matter much to you, or run the other way when she wants to talk and connect, or I could go on. He made me feel like I was a dummy with no worthy opinions or ideas. He has a PhD and I didn't graduate. So he made it clear he knew he was the educated one, constantly correcting my grammar. I really thought I would be okay working with him, and I thought we were doing a good job of keeping things professional. We have talked, yes, I know, that is a huge mistake. Mostly about how I am working on my marriage, and that what we have been doing must stop. He agreed he will back off and said he doesn't want to see me lose my marriage and wants me to be happy. But I am trying to work through this in my own way without crossing any lines, of course. I realize too, I'm in effect still tied to him in some way, but I'm trying to move on. I am finding myself thinking of him, even though I know he is not my type. Why is this? I am attracted to him, but he would not be someone I would pick out of a crowd to date even if I were single. I could see us having a lot of fun, but that is it. So, I know this whole thing has just been about us trying to hold on to what feels good, while we are trying to cope with a failed marriage. I am going to see a counselor by myself next week to work on my issues, and we will continue to see out MC together. The thought of leaving makes me feel elated and excited to be free to be on my own without the stress of living in a broken-down marriage. This has nothing to do with the OM. I just feel like I would be a better mom and happier person if I were free from all of this relationship stress. Trying to work through all of this is killing both of us a little more every day. But we are holding on, desperately hoping we can work through this mess. Is there really anything wrong with considering me for once in my life? I have pushed my needs down for so long, I did not realize what they were, or what I even wanted in my life, and let men abuse me and my spirit. I am now finally in a place where I am looking at all of this and realizing that I need to take care of me. How is this selfish? I have stuck this out for a very long time, feeling miserable with my HB, but have stayed because I did not think I had a choice. Now I know that I do, and I deserve to have a happy life, free of the things I no longer want in my life that are damaging to me and my kids. If I do leave my job, I am afraid I will not find another that pays me this well unless I go back to school or something. This will cause us to lose a great deal of income. My HB says we will find a way, but also has not asked me to leave my job. He does get very tied up when I must leave for work because he doesn't like me around him. I suppose I do feel I have a handle on this and I can move past it, but as all of you say, it seems like he is manipulating me. He did make little comments and gestures that were getting me reeled back in. He said he thinks it is ridiculous that we are not to talk to each other as friends, and that my HB is being immature. He begged me not to quit my job and promised me he would back off, and I trust that he will eventually do that. So, all of you are saying that it is typical for a WS to be feeling the way I am about leaving and starting over. I am really struggling with this, and what if I do quit my job, and my feelings do not change? I am afraid to do that. I was very depressed and unhappy in my life as a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. And even before that, worked jobs I hated for min wage. Getting this job was such an accomplishment for me. I work for the city. I had to go through several interviews to get hired and felt so good that I got the job. I work in a really nice facility and have wonderful co-workers and lots of people I enjoy seeing every day. It is such a good job. It does not feel cut and dry to me. Maybe it is and I am just not ready to see it. I have an appointment to meet with my supervisor this afternoon. My best friend, who has been supportive through this whole thing, has encouraged me to take the stand up for myself route instead of just running away without being heard. She is coming with me to the meeting for support, which will be helpful. I do not want to be the victim of someone's abuse. The bottom line is, I have asked him to leave me alone and only engage me if it is work-related banter. And I do not want to discuss my personal life. I try to avoid him as much as I can, but he keeps cornering me and getting me roped into conversations before I even know what hit me. If he would just leave me alone and truly respect me, I think I could work with him and keep that distance. I am not sure what will come of this meeting. Maybe I will be fired, but at least I will know I tried to do what is right. For all I know, he could carry his advances onto another female at work, and our boss has a right to know what is going on in his workplace. Am I on the right track now? I did say several times to my boss that I am not without fault. We did get into inappropriate conversations that I took part in, but I have asked him to stop trying to engage me unless it is about work several times, and he doesn't get it and keeps it up. Then there is me high on my chemicals who has a hard time seeing straight. Not good. When I type up the details for my boss, I will make that clear in my writings too. But from my standpoint, I have said stop many times. Took time away from work, and still it has not been respected, and he did not get the message. Believe me, I have been obsessing over all my wrong actions, behaviors, wondering if I had a right to go to my boss. If I did the right thing, because I was partly responsible for letting this go on as it did. It really is a bit embarrassing to disclose this relationship like this. I am feeling really depressed and down, and I am not sure why. I also feel bad that I had to throw him under the bus. That is how it feels. He is not even going to know what hit him when my boss calls him in the office. He has no idea I was even thinking of going that route. Although I did say last time we were working together that if he can't keep our relationship professional, I may have to quit my job. Is that not a clear message? Did I do the right thing? I was going to just quit, walk away and disappear, but then I am the victim in all of this and he gets away with his misconduct. And I lose my job. It does not seem right. Why do I feel so bad and sad then? I do feel sad that now it is final. I will never talk to or see him again. It is final and done. But I still know it was wrong on so many levels. I feel so messed up right now. He asked for a timeline of events, what was said that was inappropriate, how I responded. I don't remember this all in great detail, and some of it I went along with. I never said outright things as he did though. You're hot. Want to go to a hotel? Asking personal questions about my HB and our marriage. I went along with some of the conversations, but I never initiated them or pursued him in any way that was inappropriate. And never said outright suggestions about a hotel. And he certainly never asked me to leave him alone because he is trying to work on his marriage, and what we have been doing is not right, and I would not have kept making advances after such a request either if he did ask me to stop. It was becoming an impossible situation because he would not leave me alone as I asked, but I kept getting drawn into conversation with him. So, I didn't make it clear enough, I guess. Part 2 final ending coming today as well, in a few hours. I am going to go out and grab a breakfast before finishing this. The ending might be surprising. Who knows? See you there.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.